Hello, my name is Vip Vipperman, and I'm excited to be back on the Back in the Bold podcast. Today, I've got an exciting guest from Idaho, or who's living in Idaho today, Dawn Hawkins of Protect Privacy AI, and her background and years of experience in the fight against human trafficking. I've just been so looking forward to this conversation. So, Dawn, tell us a little bit about what's been going on over in Idaho, and looking forward to hearing a little bit of the backstory about Protect Privacy.
Yeah, over in Idaho. I'm new here, so I moved to northern Idaho, live in the mountains now. It's so exciting. I have moose and turkey and deer and elk all around my house, which is a huge change because I was 20 years in Washington, D.C., which I love because in D.C. you can make such a difference. And I focused on policy around sexual abuse and exploitation and advocacy. But yeah, so now we're doing something new, and I'm really grateful, Vip, that Eagle has become such a big partner of this new endeavor, Protect Privacy AI.
Oh, dude, so fun. Yeah, I guess you did not see moose and turkey running around DC very often. That's awesome. We got to spend some summer time in national parks this summer, and it was so good just to see wildlife and to see mountains and that kind of thing and be exposed to nature and all that's the amazing things God's created. So it's fun to be surrounded in it, I imagine, in your daily life.
Oh, yes, every day.
That's so cool. Well, hey, tell me a little bit. So your story is well known in the space, like for folks who know about anti-trafficking efforts. They know of NCOSI, they know of your work. They may have heard of your work there. But tell us, how did you get even into the fight against human trafficking in the first place? Like, what sparked it?
Yeah, what sparked it? Wow, where do I start? I feel like from a very young age, I had seen and witnessed, experiences with my peers. Like, I'm talking about 8-9 years old. I was exposed to pornography in a family member's home, and I felt so upset and angry about it. It really changed how I looked at myself, what I thought my role was as a girl. And thankfully my dad helped me walk through all of that. But then later, middle school, high school, the impact of the kind of objectification of women really just seemed to explode before me, and I was so upset. I just had this righteous indignation, we have to do something about it. But then, Vip, I actually lived in Hungary and in Germany for a time where I saw sexual exploitation kind of rampant. In Hungary, I was serving a mission for my church, and I was sexually assaulted a couple times. It was really horrible. Wow. But also I volunteered and we taught English. And many of the people who came to our English class were women who were being sex trafficked, who were in prostitution. And I didn't understand that life or that role. And then the more I got to know them and understand and see the culture, the more I realized kind of all of these issues around sexual exploitation are really connected. So the pornography, the sexual assault, the trafficking and prostitution. And when I came back to the U.S., I was like, I'm moving to Washington, and I'm going to focus on just trying to change systems so that it doesn't become like I had witnessed over in Europe. I was all rosy-eyed and thought it wasn't happening as much in our country, which it is, sadly. Anyway, I moved to D.C., and I got connected with the incredible organization, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. It had a different name back then, but they let me volunteer, and then I became the executive director and then the CEO, and I was with them for about 16 years, so long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the entrepreneurial mindset. You were in nonprofit before, now you're in for-profit, but it's still that entrepreneurial mindset of people that says something is wrong, there's a problem, and something needs to be done about it. And a lot of people just stop there. Something's wrong, something needs to be done about it. Oh man, that's bad. But the entrepreneur says, I'm going to do something about it. I'm just not going to sit here and let this continue to be the way it is. So tell a little bit about what your work at NCOSI, just to understand what that encompassed as far as the legislation side and policy, and then why that sparked the movement in this direction.
Yeah. Well, you hit on something really important to me too, and it's that idea that you don't have to accept things as they are, kind of the status quo. You can make a difference. Like, our voices matter so much. And so in my journey with NCOSE, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, what I realized is, like, I wanted to stand against sexual exploitation wherever, whenever I saw it. So we started going after like companies. My very first time, when I was just a volunteer, I saw. I'll get to it, but I'm just reminiscing a minute, Vic.
Yeah.
I was at Barnes and Noble, and I was studying to take a test, and I had just moved to Washington, and I was sitting in the like cafe. And I looked over and I saw a Playboy, like, huge coffee table book. And it was in, like, the featured area. And there were kids' books all around it. I was so upset and so nervous. And so I went over, opened it, pornography, right there. And I asked to see the manager. And the manager came over, thought I was crazy. He was like, there's nothing we could do about it. And, that's what where the corporate wants it. And I was like upset. And I left that store feeling like so downtrodden. Like, I spoke up and nothing happened. But then this woman like chased me out, and she was a mom. She had a stroller, and she was like, thank you so much for speaking up. And, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about this moment for a while. But so then I went on social media and I posted about it, and I started a Facebook page called Pornography Harms. And I just talked about this case, and like, guess what happened? Like, somehow it went up the chain, got to Barnes and Noble. They moved the book.
Oh, nice.
And it was like ignited. Like, and you guys, what I have experienced, and many of the advocates that I've worked with, is like about 50% of the time when you raise your voice and you say, I don't want to stand for this isn't okay, they make changes. And so that's what we did at NCOSE, was we led these massive campaigns to get corporations to stop partnering and profiting from sexual abuse and exploitation. We won, I'd say, more than half of the battles, and started a whole movement, united the kind of feminists and the conservative, and it was incredible. We started thinking that, though, that kind of advocacy was a little slow, so we started focusing on...
Slow.
Yeah. I mean, it was like also whack-a-mole, like, oh, this one thing happened on the airline. This one thing happened on the internet service provider. This happened on a social media site. And it was just like one at a time. So how do we change the system? And so we started looking at policy and getting really involved in legislation at the state and federal level, and sometimes international. But VIP, that sometimes feels a little slower. Like, we had many victories, but Congress still has not passed a single online child safety bill in 27 years, even though we've gotten so close. So then we started a law center, and we started filing lawsuits against these large corporations to, like, hit them where it hurts, which is, the pocketbook. And we saw quick change, both in the policy space, it like supercharged it, in the advocacy space. And so in that journey, what happened was I was working with so many survivors who of different forms of sexual abuse and exploitation. And what I realized is that most of them, even though their abuse happened way in the past, and many of them had already gone through years of services and therapy and efforts to, try to get back to life, their abuse had been filmed and recorded, and then it's uploaded online. And no matter what they did, it continued to be uploaded, and then it would be used to just try to shut them up, to traumatize them, to trigger them back into the life, to pull them back into life. And that's unacceptable, Vip. Unacceptable, right?
Because once the videos got up there, it was impossible to take them down. And they just got shared and proliferated across multiple sites. And
exactly, like countless views, downloads, unknown downloads, and then they would be uploaded again and again. And we can get into some of the systemic problems in this space, but back in like 2019 to 2024, the companies, like the platforms that where this content would be hosted, they did not care about survivors. They made survivors jump through huge hoops to prove that they didn't consent or to prove that it was them. But did they have any hoops for the abusers to jump through? Like, no, they sided with the predators initially. So huge efforts went into like getting them to listen to survivors, prioritize them, understand what trafficking looks like, and then to pass laws. So we got a really significant law passed called the Take It Down Act.
Okay.
It went into effect fully May 19th this year. And among many things, it creates a requirement that these platforms now have 48 hours to comply when a survivor comes to them and says, I did not consent, take it down. So that's a huge victory and a big systemic change finally. But the problem, Vip, was that the technology was just like not there. It hasn't changed in 15 years. So the law is finally here.
Sorry, the technology for what? Just for clarification.
Yeah, the tech for kind of finding and then making it easier to remove this type of image-based sexual abuse, the recorded sexual violence. It hadn't changed in 15 years. So it was like we did all this work to build coalitions and pass laws and get these platforms like really Google and Meta. They all even got behind the bill, which is... such a change from the earlier years. Yeah. But like, what about the technology to make it happen, the infrastructure? So that's when I was like, I need 16 years at Nkosi. It was time for a sabbatical, needed a break, took some time, moved to these mountains, but then just kept thinking like the tech is here. And VIP, I learned about some of the tech at Clapham Accelerator and through Eagle. Like, I'd love to just tell you a little bit about that. That like changed my life, realizing the tech is in the world. We can solve this problem. So that's what we're doing. That's a long answer.
No, that's amazing. I mean, again, exciting to see like you saw a problem, you realized like something needs to be done about this, and I'm going to just keep fighting until we can make the progress. And interesting that, you know, looking at different ways from the, you know, what was the initial things you guys did, the dirty dozen list, you know, just to get, you know, to get people to have attention, take attention and like pay attention where problems were happening, but then moving into like legislation, like, well, maybe the federal government can get a part of helping this, but then realizing like actually until there's technology to be able to take it down and to make it easy for the person who has the problem, as it were, then they're still not going to do anything about it.
Exactly.
And so, again, the entrepreneurial bent kicks in and you're like, okay, so we're going to build this sucker. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like going from where you've been and some of the experiences you had, what's it been like to actually build a company, build a product to actually solve this problem? And maybe some of the lessons you're learning.
Yeah. Well, for-profit world is super different from the nonprofit world. And, you know, you're using the term entrepreneurial, but I've always thought of myself as like, I'm a fighter and I'm going to just make things happen and move mountains that people say are impossible to move so that human dignity can stand. But so what's different? I mean, a significant thing is that like, I mean, I'm involved in other policy and advocacy too, especially around AI and online child safety and like, oh my gosh, what's AI going to do for this world? I'm like obsessed with it. I wake up so early, just like, what can I do with AI today? What can I learn? But also like how terrifying the impact it's having on our mental health, especially young people, etc. The thing that I'm the most excited about is tech for good. Like, we can actually build technology that solves the human crisis and like supercharges this like solutions to these really complex problems. And I have spent, you know, almost 20 years just in the trenches fighting tech, like thinking they're kind of the worst and they're the reason we have these crises. And so the change for me is just like, oh my gosh, there's so much hope and there's so much good and we can do something about it. And like on a level that no one could understand because the technology available today is just like mind-blowing.
Awesome. So you guys talk a little bit about exactly what it is that you guys have started doing.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just
And the team you built. Because I think it's important to realize, like, one of the things I see in your story is, like, over and over and over again, you've built teams to do this work. Like, the Law Center wasn't just you. You built a team of amazing lawyers that are, doing this work. And
I'm not even a lawyer.
Yeah.
Just hired the lawyers. Well, the same is happening at Protect Privacy AI. So, in a nutshell, we've built technology, kind of multimodal AI, where we've layered different technologies together in one tool to go scan your digital identity to find if there's any sexually explicit content out there that you did not consent to. And then if we find it, we send automatic takedowns to these platforms. And if they don't listen, we tell on them and escalate. And it's all automatic. And the really good thing is, it's been extremely traumatic to do this kind of work. It's been all manual for many years, especially for the survivor who has to go hunting for their own abuse material on abuse websites. So we've automated that, and now there's like very little human kind of involvement in like looking at this really kind of abusive, harmful content. So that's like
that's exceptional.
Yeah. And then we will help prevent the upload. So detection, removal, and then prevention. And we have this incredible team of leaders, survivors who have experienced sexual exploitation themselves, image-based sexual abuse, others who have been in the trenches fighting this issue and for the laws and takedowns for 20 years too. Vip, I met our CTO at Clapham, and he's so incredible. The guy building our tech, he's built technology that really focuses on helping protect kids from like online predators in the gaming system. And now he's helping us to solve this problem. It's like a super team. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing the power of an entrepreneur to see a problem, go after it, but also present a vision in such a compelling way to a group of people that they want to jump in and help build together, and just keep the vision alive. So I think like that's powerful, the way that you've continued to be able to do that on both sides of the tax designation, as it were. So talk to me a little bit about like how Protect Privacy will make money. Because again, it's a for-profit company, it's a business, it's been invested in, people are hoping for returns. Like what's the financial model, as it were, for this space? Because we love the impact, but also like, talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is what is so exciting. It's like this perfect ecosystem where the laws have been passed. Now there's this whole entire new compliance marketplace where platforms that host user-generated content have to comply with the law. And the law is not just in the United States, but it's passed in the UK, in the EU, probably going to pass in Canada. So there's this new compliance marketplace, and we help platforms comply with the law, with the prevention side of things. We make it easier for them. So that's one key area. Another is there's a new litigation market. We were at Nicosi filing these types of lawsuits against platforms and individuals. Now 27 states have laws that allow private right of action against your abuser and the other distributors. And there's multiple federal laws. One is about to pass in Congress that allows you to go after anyone who creates and uploads deepfakes with significant damages. So there's like sharks in the water. People are like, litigation, but litigation is also how we change the world too, at least in the United States. So in our tool provides like the evidence that has been difficult historically for lawyers to be able to have for these cases. It tracks exactly where the content is, who uploaded it, how it was distributed, the networks behind it, and all while like not adding the really heavy emotional manual burden that everyone's had to have in the past. And then there's the area of kind of like the B2C, the individual that we're serving. And look, Vip, I wish so much we could make this free for them. And I'm doing all I can to try to find revenue in other places, but it's expensive to run this kind of scanning technology. So we do offer subscriptions to the individual who wants to do kind of weekly or monthly proactive scans to find content and make sure it's down and stop it from going. So does that help answer?
Yeah. So you've kind of got a couple of them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Law enforcement needs this tool, similar to the lawyers. They need the evidence gathering, and we have that like wrapped up in a bow for them. So, yeah.
So a lot of different financial opportunities to grow the company. Is there one that's like y'all are specifically going after initially, or are you kind of looking at a couple of the different ones at the same time?
Well, they kind of all move forward together. The B2C, we want to help individuals. I mean, okay, the nonprofit in me, we are here to help remove this kind of content from the internet for the individual. I have talked with like hundreds, maybe 1,000 survivors and parents over the years, and the answer had always been like, I'm sorry, there's just not much that can be done. Like last year, I took a call from a mom whose daughter, fifth grade daughter, had over 1,000 deepfake or AI forged pornography images made of her by another fifth grader from an app that was rated for a 4-year-old in the Apple App Store. This is, and I told her, I'm sorry, there's nothing that can really be done about the content that's already out there and has been out there. That can't be the answer anymore. So really focusing and making sure that tech helps the individual whose content is out there, and then really focusing on supporting the other. So the survivor has accountability, whether it's civil litigation, criminal, or the platform support.
Wow. Well, I mean, you're hitting on so many different notes. The fact that a fifth grader is making deep fakes of images of another that in itself is just
so sad.
Mind-boggling. But so cool that this technology exists, that you guys are moving it forward. Talk to me a little bit about where you see this is going. So, I mean, the the Take It Down Act has just been in play for about 2 months now. What are you guys seeing so far as like progress being made, and what are you kind of thinking you're going to see over the next like year or two? Do you have kind of
the incredible progress for kind of the whole ecosystem is that platforms seem to really care. They're like leaning in. They're afraid of the Federal Trade Commission, who's already sent letters and warnings out. So it seems like the platforms have completely changed their way of thinking about these issues, and they're prioritizing takedowns and listening to survivors, and they want solutions to help them continue complying. So I feel very
encouraging.
I know. Yeah. I've been sitting down with like the pornography industry, like the sex industry. I'm like, and we kind of joke. They are like, we know who you are, Dawn, because I've been leading campaigns, and efforts largely against them for so many years. But I think this is a place where like they don't want this type of abuse material either on their platforms, and so this is a place where there's like this interesting area of working together. I'm really optimistic about that and that shift.
Well, that's encouraging. What do you think are the biggest challenges like facing you guys today? Like what's the hardest part of this work, as it were?
Getting the word out that the technology's here and exists is difficult.
Okay.
There's another really incredible organization called Stop NCII. You can go to them if you know there's content of you out there, and they'll create a hash. It's like a digital fingerprint of you, and they have this database of hashes, and then platforms can run against this and hopefully stop the re-upload. But only 12 platforms participate, and they don't help with like scanning and takedown. So there's a lot of misinformation out there online. Like they've been the only ones to help in this space for so many years. So helping people to understand like what they do specifically and how we coordinate and collaborate, and we can go further upstream for the both the platform and the individual. That's like a really big challenge. The other challenge is the cost. I mean, it is expensive technology to be able to go out and scan for your digital identity. And so praying and hoping that we can get that cost down significantly so this becomes way more affordable for everyone.
Yeah. Talk to me. Have you got a story, like even in the short time that you guys are, doing business, of like somebody that you guys have helped or somebody that came to you that you guys have been able to work with to just see the impact of this technology coming to fruition?
Yeah. There's a survivor that I know who was trafficked, and her abuse was filmed and recorded repeatedly and uploaded. And it's on hundreds of websites. And she has tried so many times to get this content down. She's paid people a lot of money. She's done a lot of working herself. And then she's like given up and then tried again. It's just felt like ultimately kind of hopeless for her in some regards. Well, when we connected, we were able to get content down from about 60 other sites that were not replying to her at all. And then interestingly also, so that's just incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
And also, like, to understand that kind of spread, like, this is the reality for many who are victims of this, is like the high spread of this material. And also, it also often ends up on websites that are not US based. And so being able to still get websites that are not in the United States to comply and remove is a huge victory.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, but we're in beta, so only like a few people have gone through. I'm saying out here now, please come and try it. Even if you don't know if content of you out there exists, we would be able to do some scanning to try, and it's free. It's free for the next month, maybe 2 months.
Wow.
Another thing, Vip, is like in some of our preliminary work, so in an analysis of like 130 websites that were hosting abuse content, we found that like the system is very like the infrastructure behind these abuse websites is very centralized. So there's like one CDN that has 90% of the websites are using the same CDN, for example. And of the 130, there was only 6 domain registrars. So like we've also realized in the advocacy space, and we have a sister nonprofit, and we'll be working with, like, we'll be releasing some of this data so that the advocates and those who are going after policy can really pinpoint and start to change the systems. Another thing, of those 130 sites, they all were monetized through ads, through online ads. That was the only way that they got money through those websites. And of those, only 6 ad companies served all 130. And guess who like the payment processors are Visa, Discover, MasterCard. We already had this fight with Pornhub, a few years ago, and we were able to make significant shifts. So I'm also hopeful that that some of this will start to change that ecosystem that allows the infrastructure of abuse to happen. And I'm really encouraged about that. I know that's not like the for-profit side, but it's the big picture thinking.
No. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. You've been, for close to 25, like 30 years. This has been a passion of yours, and you said you kind of wanted to go after like system change. Like if you look forward 5 years from now, if we get system change, what does that actually look like? Like describe that for me, just for a moment.
I just think like sexual abuse and exploitation won't be able to flourish, and human dignity will be like what we the norm. Like defending and standing for human dignity will be the norm. I think like people say this is always going to exist, but it's become so corporatized. Like it's existing now because of so many systems that enable it, especially the profit churning machine, the global corporations that are behind this. I feel like I sound like a what's it called? Like I'm just spinning stories, but really there is like corporatization of sexual abuse and exploitation. And if we say no more, we're not going to allow for that, we're not going to stand for that, it shifts everything. this is not necessarily about protect privacy AI, but I often think about in the sex trafficking space, if there were no sex buyers, if we weren't allowed to purchase other human beings for sex, there would be no sex trafficking at all. And so really going at that system is one way to help decrease this problem. So yeah, that's what I encourage.
No,
and
I appreciate that.
At all sides. I mean, we need those doing direct services, but we also need folks going as far upstream as possible too. So.
Absolutely. One question I was going to ask you, how early do you think it's happening? I mean, like when y'all are starting to go after images online, how young are some of the pictures? Like ages of the kids that are people in some of these pictures? I mean,
yeah. It's so sad. We are not supporting minors. NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, supports minors. So if we come across any minor abuse material, we directly send it to them, and then they work it through. Like there's a whole network of really strict laws and compliance issues in the United States for that. But VIP, like it's so bad. It's so young. It's infant. It's toddler. It's the world is
Nice. Well, excited for you guys, and you're building this company and the opportunities. As far as like the listeners on the podcast today, what's a step of action that they could take? Just like if you were doing a call to action to them, go to the website. Talk to me a little bit about what actions you would have people take.
Thanks. First, I would say, it's so common. Image-based sexual abuse is so common. 46% of people under age 24 have experienced it. 1 in 5 of us, like older people, have experienced it. And that's exploding because of the AI, like generative AI tools that exist now. So talk about it. And also, so many people feel hopeless. Like we've accepted this idea that once something's on the internet, it lasts forever. And so many feel hopeless. The idea of sextortion, like I have walked the halls of Congress with 60 parents who lost their kids to sextortion, threats to share these kinds of intimate images. And so like my first thing is talk about it and let people know you believe them and it's not the end of the world and we can get through this. And that's number one. And then number two is the tech is here to help you. And at Protect Privacy AI, we can help you find all those different resources as well as do that scanning and do that removal for you so that you can have more peace. So Protect Privacy AI, go join the beta, talk to the people you love about this.
Awesome. And it's protectprivacy.ai is the website.
It is.
So for people to go. Yeah. And especially if you're listening to this and you are a survivor, go while it's free. Like check it out, learn about some of the opportunities. But make sure you're having these conversations with people that you care about, because it sounds like there's a lot more impact that's happening than we even realize. Dawn, thanks so much for being a part of the conversation today. Excited to see Protect Privacy just grow and expand and take so much of this content down. To get the corporations on board working with you guys so that they can stop it from being uploaded in the first place. I know that that's like a future goal, is like, hey, it doesn't go up because it's going into y'all's systems ahead of time. But excited to also see survivors get their life back. I know so many people it's that thing that continues to tug at them is they can't get rid of that material. So excited about the work you guys are doing and just your commitment to doing it for all these years. Is definitely, I love about this space and the people that we've met in it, that their commitment to this goes so far beyond like commitment I see in most people to just about anything else. It's just this commitment to like, this is not right and it needs to be changed. And the more people that can hear that story and join it is great. Well, hey, thanks for the conversation today. Excited about the success for you guys, and I look forward to future conversations.
Thanks for your partnership. Bye, VIP.